This is not a coconut. It may look like a coconut and feel like a coconut. It even sounds like a coconut with all that milk inside. But it isn't. It is in fact a Swiss person. Now, I'm not saying that all Swiss people are small, brown and hairy, though I'm sure some are, or that you want to throw things at it all the time. What I'm saying is that in Switzerland there's a distinct difference between the outer sphere, the public sphere, and the private bit inside. And most Swiss people keep them very separate, so that it's quite hard to get to know. It's hard to break through that outer shell. That's partly because Switzerland is a small country. It's about twice the size of New Jersey, but 70% of it is mountains. And so the 7.8 million people have to live in that 30%, so it's all quite cramped. And being a coconut is one way to survive that. You can be very close to someone in terms of living and working with them, but you don't share their space. You both have privacy. And that's one of the other reasons that the Swiss protect their privacy, both yours and their own. So they expect you to respect their privacy. Part of that is dividing work and pleasure into different pigeonholes. So Friday evening down the pub is not a Swiss tradition. And part of that is because they want to take the time to get to know you properly. It's not that they're unfriendly or that they're cold or they're distant, which can be how it seems for English-speaking people who chat to each other at the bus stop and become friends for life after a coffee. Swiss people take the time, and they want you to know that they're taking the time to get to know you properly, so that when they call you a friend, it really means something. A Swiss friend is for life, not just for Christmas. And so, as an Englishman in Bern, the Swiss capital, it can sometimes feel like I'm living in a land of coconuts. But sometimes that has its advantages. You don't get accosted in the street so much. And you have a feeling that people respect your own private space. It has its disadvantages as well, especially when you're learning a foreign language. In Bern they speak German, mostly. Switzerland has 3 national languages, official national languages, that's Italian, French and German, and all 3 have 2 forms of the word you. A formal form and the informal form. In English we got rid of that about 400 or 500 years ago. But these 3 languages still have it. So in French, for instance, it's vous and tu. In German, it's sie and du. And when you're learning German, the sie form is the easiest form to start with because it's just the infinitive plus the word sie. So you don't have to learn very much. So when I started learning German 6 years ago, I was very formal with everyone, even my friends and my boyfriend's family. And they would say to me, look, we know each other. We don't have to be this formal. And I said, well, you have to wait. I've only learned the formal form. Once I've mastered the informal form, the do form, then of course it was much easier for me to do that. But I forget that with people older than you or people of a higher status than you, so your boss or someone you don't know at all, or the president of the country, for instance, you are supposed to be formal until they say otherwise. You, as the person, the younger person or the person of lower status, has to wait until they say, yes, we can move to informal forms. And in German that's called Duzis. That usually means you can move from Sie to Du, you can move from surnames to first names, and you become friends. A fatal mistake is to use Sie when someone has said, we can move to Du, and then you forget. It implies that they've done something wrong and that they've offended you. Or the other way around, if you use Du instead of Sie, and you don't know them, as I did once with an old lady on the tram. I gave up my seat for her. I used the do form instead of the Sie form, and she castigated me in public. Not only did she not take the seat, she was roundly telling me off for being such a rude, ignorant foreigner. So sometimes it feels like you're being battered by all these coconuts, and then the great moment is when you break through that shell, and inside is the soft inner core, the family and really close friends. Then you get invited to people's houses. Then you're on first names terms with people. Then it really feels like you're part of the coconut society. You may not become a coconut yourself. You may still be slightly more open, but you know what it's like to be on the inside. And that makes all the difference living here as a foreigner.